103.2 Preston FM.
Keeping it local.
And that's we are, Chat City 103.2 Preston FM. Now, choosing childcare can feel like a real headache for parents, but Lancashire County Council's Family Information Service wants to make it child's play. And to tell us how they can do that, I'm pleased to welcome into the studio the Information Officer for Lancashire County Council from the Family Information Service, and it's Warren Marchini. Warren, nice to meet you.
Hi, Hughie. Nice to meet you too.
Lovely to meet you. Tell us a little then about the Family Information Service and the work of the Family Information Service.
Well, as you said, sometimes finding childcare can be very demanding. It can be a minefield for some people. There's lots and lots of information that people might need or might want to look at, that isn't always readily available. So things like what sort of childcare is available within your area. And that's looking at the different types as well. So things like childminders, day nurseries, preschool playgroups. We've all heard of the terms, but actually, what do they deliver?
Yeah,
what
I was
do they
going
mean?
to say that. Yeah,
that can be really difficult. So part of our job really is to sort of help people along the way. So we'll give advice about what sort of services they offer. So things like pickups and drop-offs from school. So it might be a childminder that would do that. Some out of school clubs might do things like that. What activities goes on within the setting. So a lot of people think sometimes it can be just sitting there watching TV if you're with a childminder. It's not like that. They work within an early years framework, and there's lots of learning through play, which again, that can be difficult as well for parents to understand, especially when you've got a young child. So maybe from 3 months old, you may have to return to work. And so your child will be that age, and you'd be worried about education, thinking it's too early really, but it's learning through play in terms of, say for example, you had a younger child, maybe a 2 or 3 year old, that was interested in things like dinosaurs, maybe it's a young lad, and they are looking at things in the framework about literacy and numeracy, but again, that feels like, well,
yes.
why would I send my child in nursery to do that? They get enough of that when they go to school. But really it's about counting the types of dinosaurs and things. It's about having fun. Right. More than anything, and learning that way. And it's backed up with what the stuff they do in the nursery or at a childminder. It's backed up with what you do at home then as well with the parents. So it's us again talking through all the different issues, what they look for, what's good in a childcare setting, and what questions they ask. Sometimes parents can feel a little bit like a childcare provider's doing them a favour. And then but actually they're paying for that service. So again, you should be expecting certain things as a parent, and we're here to try and help as well. Right. Parents understand that really.
And what about, I mean, these days you hear so much about, the financial situations for family, and top often comes out is the money that they've got to spend on finding childcare. Are you able to help with advice and information around costings and, how much you should be paying maybe for child minding of the different care arrangements?
Yeah, definitely. We're in constant contact with childcare providers as well, so we find out what the types of costs are. A lot of those are by age range or by particular services, and they will be unique to the family arrangement that they have with the childcare provider. So it's always good to talk about that. We encourage families to go along and visit each childcare settings, ask lots of questions and ask things about the cost. Not always easy to do for some parents.
No, that's right.
And we can help with that as well. So yeah, we give an indication of what the type of cost would be. But then, as you say, yeah, it can be very expensive for a lot of people and a big demand on the family budget. So we also provide advice on things like tax credits, childcare vouchers, and sometimes there is actually free childcare available. So for 3 and 4 year olds, every 3 and 4 year old in Lancashire, you can claim 15 hours free childcare. Some 2 year olds are also able to do that, but it depends really on the family circumstances really and what you may be entitled to or what you may be claiming. We will talk through all the different things as well, because that can be a minefield, the information
I was
that's
going
there.
to say, yeah.
Sometimes the way the government write things isn't always very helpful really for parents. So again, it's us trying to sort of decipher that really for parents and make it easier to understand. And we'll do things like tax credit estimations, and talk people through that. So we get a lot of people talking to us about, perhaps they're thinking about returning to work, and they're thinking, how much is the childcare going to cost? And so on. We can give you an indication of that. So you're prepared for things really, rather than blindly walking into it and finding you've got a big bill at the end of the day and you can't afford to pay that. So we'd rather help you at the very start really.
And do you find that maybe lots of families or parents are not aware of maybe what they're entitled to or what they actually could claim?
Definitely, yeah, that's one of the big things. And some people that are working perhaps might not think they're entitled to anything. But like I say, those free hours for 3 and 4 year olds is something that all sort of parents could get. And if you're working also, there's things like childcare vouchers is a bit of a tax break. And sometimes we also give advice as well about things like working flexibly. So we will speak to employers on behalf of families as well, if they want it. Not all parents would want that service, but it's available. That little bit of extra help sometimes is needed, really. So for things like, if perhaps you've got a child with special needs, or maybe English is your second language, or maybe the parents have learning disabilities or difficulties really in understanding information like that, then we'll work on their behalf. And try to do. And sometimes it's about confidence as well. Just having the confidence to go and ask the questions can be difficult.
So how does it work then, Warren? Is it mainly by phone or is it face to face or?
Lots of different ways, really. We like to think we're quite accessible, really. We're based in East Cliff in Preston, so people can drop in there at the JDO offices. It used to be the old social services building. But you can go into your local children's centre throughout the county, really. So we cover the whole of the area.
Right.
And people can drop in there, speak to someone that's trained, and if they need support from us, they'll come back to us and we'll give them the information. We've also got an email address, which is...
give that out as well.
Yeah, it's Lancs, LANCS, FIS at lancashire.gov.uk. We've got a free phone helpline, which is open really from the hours of 8 till 6 most days. It's open Monday to Friday. It's just the weekends you'll struggle really, but we have an answering machine service available so we'll pick the calls up then first thing then on the Monday. And it's like I said, it's a free phone helpline, which is 0800 195 0137. And you can also get this through. We've got a web page as well. You'll find a lot of information on there about what to look for, what questions they ask, all the things we've been talking about really. And there's some really helpful guides on there that we've just put on there. So things like paying for childcare, choosing childcare, what to look for. And that's at, just at the Lancashire County Council website. So www.lancashire.gov.uk/childcare.
Are people usually quite surprised when they ring in of what is available? Because I know if you look at the press, so you take the word of the press these days, you're led to believe that there's very little available in childcare.
I think they can't be. I mean, every family situation differs really. So you could live in a really rural area and there might not be as much childcare. But living in Preston or a big city, there's usually quite a lot of childcare around. But again, that does depend on family circumstances and whether you actually feel comfortable with the childcare. So there might be lots of childcare there, but it has to be right for you as a family. And that's the kind of thing that we would talk to parents about. Don't just settle for maybe the cheapest or the one that's closest by. We'll talk through all the different issues really. It's about, a lot of it really is about settling your child. And it being right for you as a parent also in terms of having a good relationship with that childcare provider and finding out, what they're doing every day and working. It's a partnership really.
Yeah. Yes, very much so, isn't it? Yeah. And
it can be very beneficial for you as a parent also. Finding out what they're doing daily, so it helps your routine at night.
Right. And when you mentioned, what is it about that there's 15 hours free childcare a week for some 2-year-olds? When we say some 2-year-olds, is that based on a criteria of income, etc.? Yeah,
that's right. Certain benefits, like if you're on income support or if you're entitled to free school meals and things like that. If you go on the website, you'll find all the details there and you'll be able to see, and you can do an online check as well to see whether you're eligible. And that'll let you know.
What is the most common kind of questions that you probably get asked?
We get a large variety of questions really. Looking for childcare and finding out what's actually available locally is probably the most common question really. But things like what kind of questions they ask and how much does it cost? Cost is a big thing really.
The big ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And is it your department where childminders register, etc.? Or is it just that you work alongside childminders?
Yeah, no. Part of our wider team, if you will, actually help register childcare provision. So we do support them as well, in terms of finding out what legislation that they have to adhere to, and support them, and helping raising quality as well. So part of the wider team will actually look at what quality ratings they've got and how they can improve on that, or actually share best practice with some of the other ones that are really outstanding.
Right. Is there a shortage of childminders these days, or is it quite a flourishing business? Well,
each year we do a childcare assessment. So we look at supply and demand of childcare in Lancashire. It's done by district level. Like I say, there can be some pockets when I was talking about rural and issues like that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But actually every year we find that actually there is sufficient childcare available. Childminders tend to fluctuate really, but roughly we've got about 1,000 childminders and actually operating in Lancashire at the moment. Again, that's spread through most sort of bigger towns or cities really in the area. But yeah, they are scattered throughout, and there's quite a wide spread of them as well, really.
And if people, as you were saying, parents are worried about the childminder that their children with, do they talk to yourselves? Can they get in touch with yourselves to have a discussion about the feelings?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things. Ofsted are the actual regulatory body, so they're the people that would follow up complaints and concerns, and we would pass that information on if a parent didn't want to speak to you. And you can do that confidentially as well. So we don't pass on details or anything like that if you don't want to. But sometimes it's best just to talk to someone that's impartial, because we are aware of lots of things that happen within centres that actually aren't really as bad as what you might find at the time. And it can just be sometimes that reassurance that you get from someone that is aware of what's happening within settings. That, for example, children that fight or bite, so that's quite a common thing in a nursery. And the nursery will have policies and procedures and ways of dealing with that, which they should be following. Now, as a parent, that's quite a big thing. And that can be very worrying. And yeah, we can tell the parent what sort of things they look for in terms of go and speak to the nursery. Have they got a policy around this? What action are they taking? Have they got supervision of the children being separated? Things like that. And we'll keep on top of that, and we'll kind of sort of then help them identify whether it is worth then telling Ofsted. And if it's a safeguarding issue, then Ofsted will follow up on that, and they'll go and do an inspection and stuff like that.
Right. And as you were saying, for somebody where English is not the first language, and maybe people with a disability, then they can also get in touch to find out information and advice for childcare facilities. Definitely, yeah.
All childcare providers have an awareness of ethnicity and cultural diversity, really, and they also have an awareness of issues around special and additional needs, and they will have again policies that relate to that and practices that they will develop. And a lot of them, especially when you look at childminders, are really, really flexible, and they will work with you as a parent to help meet your needs as well as the child's.
Okay. Warren, just give us the contact details again where parents can contact, telephone and online.
Yeah, telephone line is 0800 195 0137, and that's a free phone helpline. The email address is lancsfis@lancashire.gov.uk, and the website is www.lancashire.gov.uk/childcare.
Brilliant. And he did all that without looking at a piece of paper. He's memorised it all.
I've been doing it for a while now.
Well, Warren, it's been a pleasure meeting you this morning.
You too.
And can I thank you for coming into the studio? It's been lovely to meet you. Thanks very much,
No problem
Warren.
at all.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed today's interview, why not tweet Hughie at ChatCityPFM.